So, one of the biggest blocks that many creative and gifted empaths have when it comes to starting a new project or pulling the trigger, sending in a submission, or just starting on a really new path, setting a new path in motion, is the issue of having an underdeveloped or damaged sense of self validation. Now, there can be many reasons for this. It's not all about developmental trauma, although a lot of it really is. But for example, we do have a lot of social structures in place, many fields of study, many disciplines and industries where there really is a normalized bias towards privileging what other people think, what other people will say, whether or not other people will approve of your idea, your words, your language, your anything. All of this before you even can take action or, articulate your ideas, publish your work, for example. And so there's all these structural social cases where this happens, and the default setting is really to privilege the impressions and judgments of other people, whether this is a board of legitimate experts or this super fickle court of mass opinion. Now, for a lot of creatively gifted people, this damaged sense of self validation can show up as lack of clarity, lack of confidence, especially in regards to, can you act on your own ideas? Can you trust your own intuition? Can you trust your own reasoning? Which these really come from intuition is the source for all of this, right? And especially also the case of using your own voice. Can you trust your voice? Can you trust your words? If you've been through grad school, for example, like you've had single words like super criticized, like that's really damaging. That can be very mentally damaging. So what this comes down to, like the root of this issue really comes down to self-trust. Self-trust is one of about, I'd say, 8 components that I've identified in self-validation as a whole. Now, this is something that I teach. I actually developed a short course. I'm developing a longer course, but you can find this and sign up for free in the link below the video. This is an email course. It lasts for 5 days. And I've written it to really introduce this topic and to really walk you through the process of identifying exactly where you might need more work. Now, for me, anyway, this also takes me back to my story of self-trust because I have a really excellent memory for the very long path that I've been on, for just how long it took me to actually really fully, deeply be able to say that I know what I know. Now, I'm maybe a little different than some because I have had higher standards for what I will consider like, do I know this? I know this, right? And that's not always a self-confidence issue. That can be, in a lot of gifted people, that can be about how we seek more complexity, we seek more depth because we need to do justice to the level of complexity that we are able to perceive. So when we're putting pieces into place and we're constructing our own cognitive order of understanding, of course, it's going to need to do justice to what we are able to perceive. And that's part of our innovation. So this is not all about self-confidence. But as I said, in some of these social cases, these social circumstances, it can largely be a case of internalized distrust from an over-reliance or a bias on needing to seek outside approval for everything first. For in some areas, literally, like you will feel like, okay, I need a new stamp of approval every month, every week. Like, can I take this step? I need a new stamp of approval. Like, it can be very debilitating, really slow down a lot of innovation. And obviously, we need a balance here, right? Like, we use our discernment case by case basis, context by context. It's all a little bit different. But you see my point, right? We need to balance this out and understand what's actually in play. And another aspect of this is that sometimes it's just also like allowing a photograph to develop. So this takes time. It's not instantaneous, especially if you're trying to get at like a really faint distinction in the logic or in the conceptual schemas that you're using. And so another caveat here is that if this issue resonates with you, if this sounds familiar, don't be so hard on yourself, like for taking longer, for feeling like you're slow compared to everyone else, because you're still putting key pieces together. It's not even that you're slower, it's just that you may be working on a different layer of depth, more complexity. Of course, that takes longer to process. Of course, getting at a new nuance is going to take longer to process, especially if it's something that hasn't like disseminated through the collective, so to speak. And if I'm being honest, I actually think that our world needs more of this approach rather than less. Our society is a little bit too biased towards the whole like fail fast, think last, or maybe just don't even think at all. And, we need to switch that up a bit. On some, I think we do need more reflection, we need more intuition, we need more sensitivity towards how everything is connected, and especially to the webs of consequences that result from particular actions, even from particular choices in how we think and which concepts we use and what we do with our language. And this is not overthinking, this is metacognition. So I just want to really give encouragement to I just really want to give encouragement, especially to other like young and emerging writers and artists, or those who are doing like a big career change midlife, or anyone who's just making some drastic step out of their comfort zone so that you can get yourself in a new environment, so that you can rewire yourself. Like you may have the intellectual knowledge for this, you may know that your skills are solid, you may know what you need to do, but you're still trapped in some loop or cycle of hesitation because your body and your subconscious mind are reading from a different script. So I'd say there's three important components to doing this rewiring to set yourself up for better levels of self-trust. Now, the first aspect here is that you really need to learn how to dial down the volume on everybody else's thoughts, everybody else's voices, the internalized voices of criticism, as well as like all of the other mental material that comes from the collective. You don't need to be up to date on all the insider references happening on TikTok. That's actually not a good idea. What's actually meant for you will come to you intuitively the better that you commit to listening and the deeper that you commit to listening. So this is all about your own intuitive connection with source. Now, the second aspect then is that you actually have to start listening to that and really building your self-trust muscle, so to speak, so that you're actually taking inspired action based on the intuitive guidance that you get. And intuitive guidance can just also mean like the ideas you get first thing in the morning before you get up. So you need to actually act on your intuition, act on these ideas, and you need to do it repeatedly, like every day. Don't wait. You want to close the gap between getting the idea, the impulse, the nudge, even if it's something small or symbolic, like act on that like as soon as you can and do it repeatedly. And this will build your self-trust because you're going to start to see the results of this process come in and further refine your intuition and refine your ability to access that stream. And then for both of these, of course, the third component here is that it really helps if you've really been able to get to the root of what I call your original validation wounding. So this has a specific shape that will set you up for specific validation seeking behaviors throughout your life. Now, this is what I've studied really closely, and it's what I am teaching in the course that I told you about, which I've linked below. Again, it's free. It runs for about 5 days, and I provide other resources in there that are free to help you get clear on how you can identify like your specific wounding and especially to see how it's holding you back. So this was my intuitive message for you guys. I really feel this is an important one for other like highly sensitive people, for creative empaths. This is really a lesson you need to master and grow beyond. It's part of your growth path. So I hope this has helped in some way. Let me know how it resonates in the comments.